My phone, I've got notes. I've made notes.
Oh my God, bring the notes. You've probably got more notes than me, mate. Believe me.
Now, the thing about these notes, right, is that
Yeah.
I've not seen this film sober, so there are going to be gaps. I've seen it 3 times. I've never been sober by the end. I remember the end. It's the same fucking exploding shark from a dozen other, like 3 other movies.
I just love the fact you've never seen this sober. I don't think you can, because I started watching this movie feeling like I'm ready to go and feeling like, yeah. But then there were moments I legitimately paused it, got a bit mad, got in and got my alcohol and said, I need this. I think I might actually need this. So I went in and I paused it about 3 times in order to get booze. So I think this sums up my opinion for this movie.
You are about to experience trash cinema.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Trash Tapes, from one man's trash and another man's treasure. I am your host, Johann and the inflictor of pain. And once again, I'm here alone. This is now the 3rd time. I'm not doing this with my usual victim and DJ, Edward Harvey, for the fact that he's still sorting stuff out with his house. Apparently, he doesn't have very fast internet, and he's currently been trying to live his ways almost like some kind of caveman. So at the moment, he's just been having his candles out, trying his best to try, at the moment, apparently, trying to play Roller Coaster Tycoon entirely on his mobile phone. I don't know how that's working out. But still, since that's the case, I need to bring another guest in. Now, we already had 2 very good guests last time, but this time I think we've got the icing on the cake. At least in my eyes. We have got ourselves probably one of my favorite people on the planet, and that is filmmaker Marc Price. How are you?
Oh, dude, what a lovely intro. That's very kind. Thank you very much. I'm good. I'm not as drunk as I feel I should be to talk about this film, but I'm working on it. I've got a little espresso martini here because you inspired me with this talk of coffee, and I threw some Kahlua and vodka in mine. That's my Sunday afternoon. Let it begin.
I kind of sussed out that we needed alcohol for this in some shape or form. I had a coffee, but then I tried one coffee before I want to have a test run. I put in a little shot of Fireball whiskey in it, thinking that might work.
Today?
No, it tastes garbage, but I drank it anyway.
Did you do that today?
I did that today. I tried it.
So we're already a couple of shots in. This is a good start. I've never seen this film sober. Not once. I've seen it like 3 or 4 times now. I've not seen it sober once. And you
know what? Fair. I don't think you can, really.
I've had the best time every single time I've watched it. And the bits I was sending you on my phone, I was like, we should talk about this. And my commentary, I don't remember filming that. And all I know is I've sent those clips of my drunken commentary to about 19 friends. Going, you're going to see this fucking film. It's brilliant.
What is this nonsense? And that's perfect. That's the way I wanted it to be. So before we kick things off, let's actually have a proper little introduction to you. So who are you? What do you do? And why did I want you on the show in the first place?
My God, I'm bad at these. Remember how bad I am at these every time you put me in some event. I'm supposedly a filmmaker. I feel a little bit more legitimate is that I can occasionally pay some of my rent with it. So, if there's some equation there, I'm to that degree a filmmaker. But yeah, that's it. I think we met. God, was it when I made a film called Colin about 10 years ago? Was that when we met?
I think no. Yeah, we met just after that when you had your second movie was coming out by that point. I think.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
it was about to come out. So it was about a decade ago, a bit more than that, maybe.
Yes, it's about 10. I've only been failing monumentally in my career as a filmmaker for 10 years.
Oh, don't say that. You've got some corkers in there. You've got some corkers in your IMDb page.
Oh, mate, thank you very much. It's so I think that's certainly how we met, was at a festival, wasn't it? And we just sort of like clicked. It was Nottingham, it was Mayhem, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in Mayhem, and then we met again, and then we met very little on in Sheffield. I remember it was like the student film festival in Sheffield. I remember we shared a screening in this weird ass like abandoned warehouse, watching loads of weird shorts.
That was it, because that's where I met Tom and Emily, and yeah, of course, yeah, I mean, lovely people, yeah. Oh God, that's great.
Yeah.
Shit, that's you're such a staple in my existence now, that like the beginnings, like the Obi-Wan Kenobi meet Anakin Skywalker moment of our lives, I don't recall with as much specificity as I should. If I knew then that was our moment.
He's sitting there going, yeah, we're going to be buddies. And most of the reason why I think we've connected so well is because you and I have the same love for schlock. We really like schlock, and we appreciate schlock. We don't poo-poo it. We kind of actually see that there may be something to learn out of it. Even if it's learning not to do that, we learn from it.
There's heart in it, isn't it? That's the thing. Is that it's not we're not like pointing and laughing, look how shit you are. There's a level of understanding, and I think we've picked up cameras and tried to tell stories and tried to get emotional responses out of audiences. So there's a sort of, it's not like you look at that and you go, ha 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 ha, you suck. It's almost like, oh God, I just please don't let me be like this. But also look at what they're trying. And that's worth some respect. I almost want to say, except with Cruel Jaws. It's the only film where like they just lift lines out, and there's no heart in this at all. This is just bollocks. It's just taking fucking lines from Jaws. When I first tried writing scripts when I was like 11, 12, 13, this is what I do. I just lift lines out of Star Trek 3, and then my dad would go, oh, I know your teacher told you to write something that's based on Macbeth, but this is just that. This is Doc Brown from Star Trek 3's line. And I'm like, maybe people will notice. So at 13, I learned that. And these guys didn't. They just made a film. This is like the 20th film that year or something.
And this is what's so great about it, because we are going to talk about this movie, which I have to say, I did not know about until you told me. This is the first time I think on the episode where, other than Ed one time, he introduced me to the movie Ghoulies. Other than that, but other than that, then no one else has given me a recommendation because I think they're all scared. You just flat out went up to me and, no, we're doing this. I'm like, sure, okay.
I definitely asked. I was like, would it be okay? I mean, I felt, it was like, would it be okay if we did this? Here's a bit that I filmed off my TV when I was drunk one time.
Yeah, and then you said like, yeah, we're doing this. And so that's what we're doing, ladies and gentlemen. We are doing Cruel Jaws.
Rubbish, boy. This is not the place nor the time.
Cruel Jaws. This film has brought me so much joy since, I watched it for the first time in January. That's it. That was the first time I watched it.
So very recently in comparison.
Really recent. Yeah. So then since then I've seen it 3 or 4 times.
Wow.
And got progressively drunk as it's gone on. Because whenever I hang out with Brad Watson at his place, he's got this new beautiful sound system, and we both love movie scores, and So he'll put something on so we can hear it sound awesome. And he's got a lovely flat with brilliant double glazing, and sounds a weird thing to say. And it's like a detached house. So there's no neighbors, there's no resonance through the walls. So we're like blasting this shit at 1 a.m. and his neighbors don't hear it. It's lovely. And then we just listen to amazing scores. Of course, he comes to my house and I'm like, we're gonna watch Moontrap and Cruel Jaws.
Hey, it's great. Look, this is why I think we connected. You and I are the kind of person where this is the thing, and I bet you this in pure honesty. I bet you a lot of friends always say, like, let's have a movie night, but they're always reluctant to sort of say, to go to you and say, you pick the movie. Because with me, they're like saying, like, he's going to pick some garbage, isn't he? It's like, no, it's not garbage. It's just, sure, like, look, I just want you to appreciate this, please.
You just want to be around someone who's going to pick a movie that you can sort of have fun watching and keep talking and, let's watch this bit. And, that's what you want, really. You don't want some fucker to say, hey, you know what, let's watch Schindler's List. It's like, I'm trying to get drunk here and have a good time. You want to watch Schindler's List? Because, well, maybe The Pianist then.
I mean, look, there are good movies that you can have a fun interaction with people with, but bad movies and good bad movies in particular are almost in a weird way designed for it. You don't watch that movie sober. You talk over it. It's the whole Rocky Horror Picture Show thing.
Yeah, it's like someone invented booze. I went, there's something missing. This is amazing. There's something missing. I know, bad movies. That would go great with this. And in 1912, or 1920, wherever the Volstead Act was doing this shit, that's what everyone was just waiting for. They were just waiting for a bunch of bad movies. And like, come on, Lumiere brothers, get your shit together. Develop the fucking art form, please.
Make it more mainstream enough that we can poke fun of. And
exactly.
So I feel this movie totally fits into that category because we're talking about Cruel Jaws, aka also known technically as Jaws 5 in Italy.
Jaws 5, yeah, I know. I saw that. So I saw that recent. Well, everything with this film is recent. I saw it I watched it in January. But Jaws 5. That was new. That was a new bit of information from about a week ago.
Yeah, so technically it was marketed as Jaws 5 Cruel Jaws, mostly in Italy because it's okay, so just to kind of explain to people, I think from the title alone you can sum up what this is, but realistically, if anyone has no idea what this is Cruel Jaws is a 1995 direct-to-video Italian horror thriller film, apparently, all set in Florida, written and directed, technically, by Bruno Mattei, but under the name William Snyder, of all things. In fact, Bruno Mattei has done loads of movies, none of them under his real name.
Yeah, because he did Terminator 2, didn't he?
Technically,
he Terminator 2.
Yeah, he technically made a Terminator 2, but the real name is called Shocking Dark.
It's amazing how legally they got away with a lot of this stuff. Another interesting thing that I read, there's a theory kicking about that it was written by Claudio Fragasso and Rossella Drudi.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if it is, but there's a theory that this was written by them. And I mean, that tracks. I mean,
but that's the thing. It's like, this is the thing with this director, which I find fascinating. Number one, he never goes under his own name. He goes always under sort of an American or slightly more manageably European sounding name because he's always wanted or tried to break the American market. He's always been trying to break into the American market. So he has gone through loads of names. Do you actually know any of them?
You know what? I was only familiar with Bruno Mattei quite recently, so I don't know how many of his films I've actually seen. I know of Terminator 2, and that's it. Yeah, but I did know about the sort of Italian films trying to disguise themselves as American films. Yeah, I'm aware of that. Like
and that's the thing. He's kind of the granddad of this. He's been nicknamed under several circles. He's called he's been nicknamed the King of Sleaze, which is one thing. He's also been nicknamed the Italian Ed Wood. And I don't know. I don't know. I
Is
think
he like,
Ed Wood,
"No,
I think Ed
it's
Wood
the-"
would have done a better job than this.
I think he's like, no, it's the Italian Ed Wood. You know, he wants to be like a
So
really good
many
actor.
Woods.
Ed Wood.
So this is the thing. The reason why you might not have heard of Bruno Mattei is because he's been under several different names. There are a few that he's gone under. So one is he's gone under mostly under the name Vincent Dawn. Apparently, his is one of his favorite names to go under.
It's a good name.
Vincent Dawn. He has gone under, but there's also a few other ones. There have also been Jimmy Matthews, but sometimes with different names. There's been J. Matthews, but all of them have been spelled differently. So one has been Jordan B. Matthews, then has been Jimmy Matthews, then has just been J. Matthews, and then is Johnny Matthews.
It's his name is as consistent as his fucking plotting in his cruel jaws at the very least, and Terminator 2.
I know, right? I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, again, but then he decides to say, no, to spice things up.
Can you see him? He's like, oh, shit, how do I spell my fucking name? Jesus Christ. I'm sorry, I sound like the guy from a lower. I'm trying to do an authentic regional Italian accent. I think it's just sounding wrong. So
that's fine. It's fine.
I sound like fucking Mario.
But it's fine. We're running with this because, hey, look, if he can't keep his story consistent, why should we?
Yes, exactly. Whatever his name is.
So yeah, again, going through other names as well. He has gone under Bob Hunter. He's gone under Gilbert Russell. He has gone under Frank Clocks, Pierre LeBlanc, and for this movie, he's gone under William Snyder. And I don't know why he's decided to have multiple fake names, unless he wants to kind of feel like when he's under a certain name, he's attempting a certain genre of movie. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's he's like, oh, the last one didn't work out. People will just know it's me. I better come up with a new name. It's a new name with every project until he makes a good one. Then that's my name now. But my name is Phineas P. Bubblegum Horn. That's my fucking name. Phineas P. Heckelflecker.
That's literally the tone of this. I'm not going to lie. There's the thing. He's considered to be very consistent in terms of he's pulled off a lot of movies. He's done a lot. He started off in the 70s, a lot of schlock. I'm talking about pure, like almost sexploitation kind of thing. Then by the time it got to the 80s, he was trying to get into horror, like proper horror stuff. Just like a lot of Italian Mondo kind of people at the time. He even made documentaries based on the Mondo filmmakers. But then, I mean, let me just sum up with some of his earlier movies. He's technically made movies such as basically, so for example, Women's Camp 119 or The Private House of the SS, movies like this. He's also made movies like The True Story of the Nun of Monza and he's also helped out and made low budget zombie movies that were inspired by things like Lucio Fulci, who was also famous around the time as well. They basically all kind of ran in the same circles, except what happened was with him is that he never made anything that was substantial enough that he could start making his own stuff. So he's famously been known for quite literally ripping off full-fledged movies, whether it is by concept or plot, or in this case, genuinely just the footage from this movie.
There are shots. There's a film called The Last Shark. I don't know if you know this one. It's I think it was actually banned by Universal because it ripped off Jaws to such a degree that I think they managed to get it banned for a bit, and then it sort of came out, I think, on video or something. But it had a theatrical release, and so Vic Morrow was playing your Quint character in it, and you know, it was just Jaws. It was essentially Jaws. It was the same story, and Universal like absolutely not. No, you're not having this. We'll sue you. So they pulled it, and a lot of footage from Last Shark is in this film. So apparently, the actors in this film did not see any shark. There was no animatronic shark. There was no fake shark. There was nothing. It's just them flailing in the water in, you know, some fake blood. That's it. That's all they did.
And
everything
you
is
can
from
tell
another film.
that because we'll talk about it as we get into the plot. But there are moments where you see them just flailing around, and then they just suddenly just dive, and you never see any fin. any teeth, nothing with next to them.
But you see an exact shot from Jaws 2. They lift from that film and drop into this one. And I was like, how can they do that? So me and Brad were watching this. We were just like, Jaws 2, Jaws 3. The only film they don't rip any shots from, for some reason, is Jaws the Revenge. No shots from Jaws the Revenge.
And you're kind of surprised because you think with this movie, where I feel like the plot kind of rips off both the first movie and the fourth movie to a point.
Yeah, they actually have a moment where someone's hiding in a boat and the shark's trying to get them inside a sunken ship. And it's like, well, that's actually a scene from Jaws, from Jaws 4, a sequence from Jaws 4.
So you think maybe perhaps you put it, I don't know, maybe they thought they were pushing it. Although I don't know whether you would be considered pushing it when you have stolen quite literally from the following movies. So first of all, they have stolen clearly some sequences from the first Jaws, from the second Jaws, and from the third Jaws.
Yeah.
They have stolen sequences from a movie called Deep Blood.
Now, that I don't know, but I do believe that's the shot of the shark at the beginning trying to attack and I think it explodes as well. That's from Deep Blood as well.
There's lots of exploding in this. Obviously, you've mentioned it. Yeah, that's correct. They've still seen from the last. They've sold quite a bit from the Last Shark.
A lot from the Last Shark, yeah.
Because it, like you said, Last Shark was a movie that pretty much just basically was pulled off, so it never got the opportunity to do so. And also, it also contains material from another movie called The Great White. So basically, overall, this movie, in some weird ass way, has 6 other shark movies in this one movie. And as I was watching it, I was messaging a friend or two, sitting there going like, I feel like I've had a shark marathon without actually being in a shark movie marathon. It's Shark Week in 90 minutes. It's you have to give them props for trying, because there's some things which I've been noticed as I'm reading through. And here's the thing. This has given me an opportunity to, ladies and gentlemen, a while ago, I did buy a book that I've been dying to use. And it is a book I found, oddly enough, on Rough Trade, which is one of those kind of like, it's a music store. But I found this, which is the Bad Movie Bible, the ultimate modern guide to movies that are so bad they're good. And Cruel Jaws is in this, which made me instantly happy, because it means my research is half done. I don't have to browse the internet for any of the weird shit. But basically, there it is. It's all in here. So if I'm looking up on the Zoom.
Look at that stunning Japanese poster of Jaws.
I know. Everything here is a rip. This movie, oddly enough, takes moments from the actual Jaws book, right?
Yeah.
And
the gangster stuff, right?
All the mafia stuff comes from the book. Steven Spielberg was clever enough to say, actually, we don't need this. So he scrapped all the mobster stuff and just kept it on the most important thing, the shark.
The mobster stuff in this is some of the best bits, though.
It is. But here's the thing is, amusingly, and this is the thing, apparently, the writer of this, which is Peter Benchley, right, actually gets a writing credit in this movie. Although I don't think it was official, but it's officially a writing credit. If you look in the credits for this movie, he's in it as a writing credit story from.
I never noticed that, or I did, but was too drunk to remember.
Well, there he is. I love it. In this book, he actually says, something tells me that he didn't get much royalty checks for this.
You know what? I bet this turkey made some money, though. I bet it did. It's like, the thing is, I can't believe it's 1994, 95 or something, this film.
Yes, it was.
Like, it felt like much earlier.
It's so. The thing is, I can tell it's the 90s. This is the thing. You sit there and you can. I think what confuses me is
the hair, isn't it? Everyone's hair.
The hair's inconsistent, because there are moments you're sitting there going, this is clearly like early 90s rubbish. And then you cut to sequences that are clearly in the 80s, mid 70s. And you're sitting there going like, the fashion is so off.
The film stock changes are so glaring as well, because I don't know what version of Jaws they got, but whenever there's a shot from Jaws, it's not a shot, it's always a punched in shot. Like, There must be some legal thing that because I don't understand why this isn't pulled.
The reason why it was not pulled is because this is the thing. One of the things that never got pulled off is the fact that it was originally, it was never ever designed in any shape or form to ever be a big theatre release. It never did. The only place it ever tried to be, was in Italy, but they stopped that because they were kind of definitely worried, obviously, that Universal and a whole bunch were sitting going like, hey, you stole our movie. But what they did was, they were very clever with this, I believe, in the editing, is that even though they used footage from it, they always used tiny sequences. They were a couple of seconds. And so because they were only in seconds and they were already cut, it almost became, in this weird way, this kind of unique remake of things where they were able to use the loophole saying, hey, I didn't steal. No, it's not just Jaws. It is, there's Jaws 2. There's Jaws 3. There is this movie. There is this movie. There is this movie. Everyone who had any opportunity to do so, I think basically what they saw was like, they saw this as a movie that was never going to get successful. And I think they sort of sat there going, well, Universal said, look, we're bigger than this. I think they'll probably say, look, we're bigger than this. We're not going to fight this. It's not a full blatant ripoff of the movie. It's not like they've taken an entire scene and just plopped it in. It's not as bad as something like the Turkish movies, which are famous for this.
Oh yeah, but they make no sense. They make less sense. It's crazy. Turkish Star Wars. Obviously you must have you covered that one yet?
No, well, the thing is, we haven't covered that yet. But
there's nothing to cover. It's just noise. it's just
random stuff. I mean, we did cover in a video. We did cover Turkish Rambo, which is brilliant. Which is brilliant. The thing with Turkish Rambo was it's all original footage. It's just literally the plot of 2, but in Turkish. It's kind of brilliant. But yeah, I think it's because it's only very tiny snippets. They kind of felt like they could get away with it. And because there's only like a couple of seconds each time, I think Universal and all the other distribution companies at the time sort of sat there thinking, well, it's going straight to video. No one's going to see this on the big screen. It's too much effort to fight this B-movie schlock. So
yeah, and to bear in mind, like, we have a freakish attention to detail. We got this bizarre photographic memory where all it takes is 3 frames, and we're like, Jaws 3, and so that's not going to apply to your general audience. This is I know a filmmaker. I won't say who it is. He released a film, and I was like, that's the fucking T-Rex roar from Jurassic Park. And he did another one. And I went, that's the American Werewolf roar, the howl from American Werewolf in London. And I said to him, how do you do this? Did you buy those? And he went, no. He said, no one watches these. And anyone who does, who recognizes it, is just going to go, it's fine. And I went, oh, that's interesting. And then once I took some gunshots from Raiders of the Lost Ark. But even then I mixed them with other things. I didn't just have the gunshots from Raiders of the Lost Ark, the clicking. I mixed it with other things so it wouldn't sound too 100%, but still sound awesome. I did it once and I was like, I don't want to do this. I'd rather my own.
Well, this is the thing. Because you are a legitimately good filmmaker, you feel guilty doing this, right? Think of Bruno Mattei and all these other ones who are saying, like, look, they know they're not going to do anything out of it. And they already feel like they've got a bit of a getaway car, which is why you get a load of these rip-off movies all the time. Because they feel like the big studios would say, like, this is too much effort to tackle this movie that barely anyone's going to see. If it was very successful, perhaps, then yes. Because here's an example. The distribution company, I love these guys, by the way, Shout Factory, who make some fantastic DVDs and Blu-rays of these really obscure movies, at one point actually announced that the film would be released as a double feature with another movie at the time, right? And they were going to have a bit of a theater run. However, it got cancelled because they were terrified by that would have been the moment when, because they had a theater release, this was the moment they were genuinely concerned that Universal would come right up their butt and say, there's Jaws 1 and 2 and a bit of 3 in there, because it never had a theater release. And all the official theater releases now are all just are just literally for bad movies that basically like bad movie nights that never really get that thing. And it's not like buying stock from them. It's not like buying the thing. It's just, here's a Blu-ray that someone may have nicked. So it's kind of hard, genuinely, to find a copy of Cruel Jaws unless you really dig deep to find a good Blu-ray copy these days.
The link I sent you has been on YouTube since halfway through last year at the very least. I mean, it's been there it's not going anywhere. It's not like a film that is like, oh, people are watching this. Oh, this link might not work in a week. Nope, that works, and no one gives a shit. It's pretty remarkable. YouTube has become this amazing resource for these films that are sort of they're not getting released. I mean, there isn't anywhere really to see Cruel Jaws, is there? Legitimately, as far as I'm aware. And not at the moment, at least. And so, so it's YouTube has become this resource, and because there's no distributor on top of it, no one's shutting it down.
And I think this is something that generally I don't think anyone's ever properly discussed on any of my shows, whether it's Ed or myself, that it does get to a point with some bad movies that realistically they are known as being bad. So they know automatically that they're not going to make money off it. So this is why you don't get a lot of people hunting them down. But here's the thing. I think because now, I think in a weird way, I think we're part of the problem. We're demanding more bad movies to watch. And now the distributors thinking, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I can find the next Miami Connection. Maybe I can find the next Samurai Cop. And so they start finding... Like their whole companies are designed to just find these bad movies and distribute them in Blu-ray high quality versions of them.
There are some, I guess, distributors who are really good, like Shout Factory and Draft House and stuff. Like those guys do, like when they say people should watch this, everyone listens. Yeah. So it's kind of, I mean, that's what's kind of cool is that like they have like a clear enthusiasm for the same reason.
Patient. Order now through Centcom Cable Television. Phone 552-2288.
There are a few movies I know off the bat that follow a very similar sort of thing, right? So you have rip-off movies where it's quite literally almost like there is a trend going. So it's a different kind of rip-off. All the stuff's original, but it is literally following the trend at the time. All right? So there's definitely movies like that. There are also other movies like this one.
That's what I was going to say, though. Like Alligator, I watched Alligator yesterday.
Yeah.
Fucking excellent film. Like a genuinely excellent film. Piranha, same thing. They were definitely following the same format. You know, it's, Sorry.
No, you're right. Basically, it is basically like there are movies that will take the premise of a bigger movie and try and make their own thing of it. And that's where you get good, and you can still find some gold in that. So that's one rip-off movie. This is clearly not it. That's one. Two, you then have the complete other end of the spectrum, which is something, we were talking about movies like by Godfrey Ho or Joseph Lai. These are movies that are actually genuinely tricking you because there's only 15 minutes of original content, and what you're watching is a completely different movie spliced in with a random white guy who somehow through power of a phone call or really clever editing is put into this movie and then released into the American market.
That goes all the way back to was it Raymond Burr in Godzilla?
Yeah.
Was that that goes all the way back to that. That worked incredibly well. So they just carried on with that. And I don't think I've ever seen that version of Godzilla. I've never seen that version.
I think it's because it's now been kind of poo-pooed because the idea is like, no, you should just watch the original. The original's so much better. And it doesn't cut out sequences and add this random white guy observing all this nonsense.
Yeah, just in a lab with those spinning tape shit behind him. That's a computer, you know. Yes.
And then you get Cruel Jaws. And Cruel Jaws this is different because it's not like the Godfrey Ho's or the Joseph Lai's kung fu movies or whatever it is, where it's actually just a full-blown different movie just spliced in with 15 minutes. No, this is technically there's far more original content in air quotes than there is the stolen stuff. But the stolen stuff is kind of so obvious, and you can actually, in the version we watched, it's so obvious you can tell that it's very jarring.
There's one bit where it cuts to fucking 8mm footage from a helicopter of a shark, and I was like, I think that's a great white shark. I mean, it looks like one. And then there it is. And they even put the binoculars over it at one point, I think.
It's brilliant.
And then they take a whole sequence from Cruel Jaws, but put another actor in it who is a cop, but instead decides to wear completely different clothes so he matches with the shots from Cruel Jaws.
And this is the thing I want to mention as well. Before we kick off the movie, there's two factoids I kind of want to three factoids I want to throw in before we start. So it's number one, the whole cast, which we'll talk about the acting in a moment, but the entire cast is actually made out entirely of non-union local actors in Florida. I think it's because they didn't want to... Yeah.
No shit.
Non-union. So in other words, it kind of just went over and said like local actors, anything, just bring them in, non-union, which means Nothing.
I reckon it was guy in the street because that fucking dude looks like Hulk Hogan. We can stick him on a poster and people think Hulk Hogan's in this. Come over here, brother.
Bring him in! Oh, it's brilliant. So, you got that guy. Number 2, Bruno Mattei had to use an English translator to talk directly to the entire American cast. So what happened was, in terms of direction, was that it constantly lost its thing. So the actors, who may have been honestly trying, we don't know, they might have honestly been trying, but the director, so there were moments apparently when the director would get mad at them, but they would never understand why. Because there he is shouting in Italian, and then this translator having to try and calm them down a bit and saying like, excuse me, apparently you weren't saying it just the way the director wanted it. And then you have this loud Italian man going, my goodness, oh no, and it's just so clearly there's a translation problem going on here.
Like, I'm sorry. I was like, oh God, in translation school, they never taught me to say, act better, you useless cunt. I don't know how to translate it. So then he's just, I imagine he's like yelling that at this guy. He's like, okay. And he goes, he's not happy with the way you delivered the line. If you could do it again, except this time, maybe, good.
I think it's basically that. It's that level. And then, thirdly, apparently this is genuinely a thing, right? So when it came to what they had originally, the director actually had all the footage that he was going to use from other movies already prepared. And the reason why I wanted to do that, because he went and showed the DOP, and he showed the costume designer to actually tell them to try and mimic those shots as much as possible so that it seems seamless in the edit.
My God, dude, the shot of the mayor, like the one in that amazing shot,
yes,
is a fantastic shot in Jaws. So Hooper's brought Brody aside, they've caught the wrong shark, and he's like, look, we just want to be sure, we all want to be sure, you got to open the shark up. And in the background, amazing, Murray Hamilton glides in, he's looking at something else, he catches the conversation, turns around, brilliant fucking stage direction, inches closer to them as they talk, and then he's part of the conversation, because this isn't the time or the place to perform some sort of half-assed autopsy on a fish.
Martin, there are all kinds of sharks in the waters, Hammerheads, white tips, blues, makos. And the chances that these bozos got the exact shark...
there's no other sharks like this in these waters.
It's 100 to 1. 100 to 1. Now, I'm not saying that this is not the shark. It probably is, Martin. It probably is. It's a man-eater. It's extremely rare for these waters. But the fact is that the bite radius on this animal is different than the wounds on the victim. I want to be sure. You want to be sure. We all want to be sure, okay? And what I want to do is very simple. The digestive system of this animal is very, very slow. Let's cut it open. Whatever it's eaten in the last 24 hours is bound to still be in there, and then we'll be sure.
Maybe the only way to confirm it, huh? Look, fellas, let's be reasonable, huh? This is not the time or the place to perform some kind of a half-assed autopsy on a fish. And I am not going to stand here and see that thing cut open and see that little Kentner boy spill out all over the dock.
Perfect fucking shot. For some reason, I guess their tripod couldn't get high enough at this one. It's this low angle looking up, and this dude comes in, and he's so much shorter than the other actors that it's just like his chin isn't even in shot as he's looking up at them. Then the fucking mayor comes in, and it's really awkward and cluttered. And I'm looking at it, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like they were smart enough to go, we just rip off the fucking great shots from that movie. The blocking from that film, we'll just rip it off. But then they even fucked that up, even though they were tracing a goddamn movie. They still fucked it up.
I'm not saying that it isn't him. It probably is. They're very ferocious and very rare in these waters. But the fact of the matter is, Dak, this Jaws fan just doesn't convince me.
No, wait, what are you saying here?
You're talking nonsense, boy. You've been seeing too many movies.
You want to be sure, Mayor? You want to be sure, Mr. Lewis? All you have to do then is open him up and see what's in his stomach.
Don't talk rubbish, boy. This is not the place nor the time.
This is the thing that I think sums up the entire point of the movie, and this is to me, right? So, It's like when you are behind on your homework at school and you know you've got a friend who's very smart and knows he's going to do well. So you try and copy his homework. The only problem is you don't want to copy it directly because then the teacher will notice that you copied his homework. So you try and add your own little flourishes to it, but you're not good at it. You're not good at adding your own rewriting words or making your own flourishes. So you quite literally just try your best, but it's making it worse. You're making the homework worse, and you just end up with a mess that doesn't make any coherent sense, and you get like a C minus instead of the A plus that your friend got.
Mate, that's the perfect analogy, and I'm directly relating it to my experience in school where we had this sort of science table and we were all sat around it, and the smart one was sitting opposite me, so I had to sort of look over, which was easier than looking and less suspicious, but I can't fucking read upside down. So I put all the wrong answers down because I got the fucking letters switched, and my stupid, dumbass fucking 13-year-old fucking brain couldn't put that together. And even copying, I got it wrong. That's cruel Jaws. It copied it, but still fucked it up.
It's
because
amazing.
It kind of got it a little bit upside down, and it's like, well, you know what? 31, and you wrote 13. That's not the answer, mate. You're not going to get it right. It doesn't. You can't say close enough because it's the same numbers involved in the answer. It's
a different total. It doesn't make up.
So that was my perfect
analogy.
That was cruel Jaws.
The movie actually starts literally on, I think, the most underdramatic way possible, where it's just suddenly a boat just comes in the dark.
It's Jaws 2. They open with Jaws 2, right? So it's good to find the film they rip off and throw into the mix. So it opens with a rip off of the beginning of Jaws 2 with two divers.
Yes.
I'm going to get worse at this as I go on because I'm going to be like, well, I don't remember that because I was really drunk.
No, but to be frank, I think if anything you can spew in my direction is best. Because again, I think this is why kind of perfect you're doing it, because you are as one of your most like inspired or influential filmmakers is Steven Spielberg. So you know Jaws and you know the Jaws franchise inside and out. So having you here is going to help me pinpoint them all.
I could do that. That's my contribution, and I can definitely rip off Spielberg shots a little bit better than these guys did. So.
Indeed. So the opening is the beginning of Jaws 2, right? So you have the two divers. I'm assuming because the same thing.
Exploring a shipwreck, right? Exploring a shipwreck.
Same thing. Like it's literally like we're going to explore a shipwreck. We found something interesting under there, and we're going to do it. And blah blah. They go in. They get attacked by the shark, which I don't know how that worked out because
we assume they die. Because why not? But they never. Maybe one of them is the body that shows up later in the film. You think?
I think so. I think so.
I mean, that adds up, I suppose. If we think about it, I get it now. Having seen it 4 times and a conversation with you, that makes sense. But I'm not entirely sure it made sense when I was watching the film. I was just like, no. So
I don't think anyone can make sense of this movie entirely. So it's true. So they had the whole thing, and you can see it's a very stereotypical setup of things. But there's loads of close-ups, clearly from I think shots from 2, a few other bits, etc. Close-ups of certain parts, loads of teeth being mangled and stuff. Yeah,
from The Last Shark, Jaws 3. Bits of Jaws 2, all of them are mashed in, then the fast editing, and then this is from what was the shark one? The red shark? Whatever that one was called. That's the shot of the shark, I think. The toy shark in a fish tank.
That's a whole bunch of stuff with that, where clearly they're trying to mash things up and cut things up in order to make it feel like it's weird, because this is basically almost like a bizarre editing challenge. Like if I told someone, look, I'm going to give you 6 movies, right? Try and cut them together to make coherent sense. And this is what they've done.
I haven't seen it in a while. I watched Natural Born Killers last night. And you know, some of the transitions in that film are just like someone flicking through channels on TV.
Yes.
That's what the fucking shark attacks feel like. And it's just someone flicking through the shark channels on Shark Week. It's like, there's a cartoon one now.
Because at this point it's cut through like 3 different movies at this point of them attacking them, and then so basically both of them are being attacked by this boat. They've all been attacked, and then there's a weird bit when then afterwards he attacks the boat. The shark attacks the boat, and again we have no idea if they actually were successful because it's like 1, 2, 3 done, and then we're suddenly in the next shot, like the next scene.
I don't fucking remember that. I've seen it 3 times and I love it. I don't remember that.
So the moment he attacks the
old
boat.
man on the boat, right? It was just like, just aware of some shit going on below him for some reason.
Yeah, and here's the thing. The shark attacks the boat. It goes poof, 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 and then it just stops, and then it cuts directly into the next sequence where we're suddenly we're suddenly in the aquarium area. We're finally in this weird, silly version of SeaWorld, and it's just so okay. It's whiplash. The editing in this movie is the thing that I had the most trouble with, because there is no synergy to it. It's quite a literal whiplash between one scene to the other. I almost got mad at it. Whenever there's a big cut, whenever there's a big scene, it just cuts. It just boom, and then you're suddenly like, oh, now we're here. Just give me a warning.
I'm putting it on. I'm going to leave it on the background and just see what happens.
I love the fact you're going to watch it through.
I was going to leave it on because I'm just like, shit, I don't know enough about this film because I was too drunk watching it. So it is. Yep, they're getting attacked now. There we go. That all adds up. That all tracks. Yep, bubbles. Okay. Yeah. And there's that guy. Yeah. Okay. He looks like a fucking mask from. Okay. Yeah.
Is he right?
Okay, I got you. Yeah, I got you. Yeah. There you go. Just cuts to a road. There we go. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that's why I didn't remember that, because nothing happened.
So this is the thing, right? All the hard cuts in this movie are literally. It doesn't. I mean, if the scenes had a little bit more time to breathe, like literally just a couple of seconds, I wouldn't be so mad at it. But it literally, there are scenes throughout this entire movie when someone would just like shout, for example, or someone would be in the middle of something, and then it's a hard cut to another scene, and they are the same characters, but in a different location, a different time, and then they're in the middle of another kind of conversation, and you're like, I haven't even had the time to process what I've just watched previously.
They did like, yeah, remember that one where the guy was playing Hooper and they did that shot like in, and this wasn't ripped off from Jaws to give him some credit, but they did actually block it a little bit better. Hulk Hogan's there and the mayor's there, and the mayor's like, oh, I don't think I have the authority to sign a thing to catch this shark. And then like the guy playing the Richard Dreyfuss role, so it's like he remembers his lines. He just goes, oh, you gotta do this, you fat fuck. It's like he improvised this insult and they just went, oh god, that was really passionate. Yeah, great. And all of like that guy must have just been passionate because he's like, forgot my line, you fat fuck. It's just sudden rage out of nowhere. Loved it. It's fucking brilliant.
So this is the point, right? So this gets to a point where we finally go into the aquarium situation, right? So we see
Jaws 3. Jaws 3. That was Jaws 3. Yeah, that's not magic. Everyone knew that, right?
Yeah. So, but it's a bit. But they have added the whole thing idea, like, hey,
this fucking kid is a better actor than anyone else because she ain't moving her legs at all. So she was either really disabled, which I hope not.
So that's the thing. We see her swimming with the dolphins, and we think it's fine. But then she picks up, and this is clearly just a means to just grab at the heartstrings, because then it's like, oh, she's in a wheelchair. And it's true, like, these people clearly know them. Everyone knows this family to some capacity. And for some reason, the whole idea that she's in a wheelchair is the biggest shock revelation, that even though they already knew this, she was clearly born with this kind of disability by the sound of things, or there was an accident years ago. This isn't new.
This isn't recent. No, it's not like, oh, she's in therapy. It's just like, oh, wow, what happened to her? It's like, oh, didn't I tell you? She cracked her spine in a barb roll. This is Florida. Or is it? I don't really know. But the scene after that is you see all the actors standing still and then they start walking. Like, you could hear someone say action. They just took it out. it's like so clunkily put together. Yeah. But so the little girl in a wheelchair, her purpose is... I don't know.
No, this is the thing. And this is something I'm going to have to be very frank with. A lot of the characters here, at least 90% of the characters, are quite literally there for no reason other than to fill up a cast. And it's weird because in that whole sequence, apparently, there is a big crowd and it feels like a big thing. We never see the crowd. We just hear the SeaWorld kind of background. And apparently there's a seal involved. There's loads of there's dolphins, which I believe are called Daisy and Cookie.
What? You caught their names?
I remember their names. Daisy and Cookie are the name of the dolphins.
Amazing. It does cut to like some bleachers where people are watching, but it's like a dozen people, but it sounds like a stadium.
It sounds like it sounds like like a big sort of attraction in SeaWorld, where there's like 100 people or more really watching it. But no, it cuts to like
this is some crusty ass like SeaWorld thing where they kick the shit out of the dolphins on a daily basis. This is like a horrible place. This isn't like, I don't know that for a fact. I haven't looked that up, but I just have a hunch.
Here's the thing. I've just found this now. This is a legit place. This is literally called Theatre of the Sea. It's an actual attraction you can go to. So clearly, but thing is, this is the same place. It's kind of a similarly close place in Florida. But when at the same time in Florida, just a little further down the road, you had actual money and you wanted something like this, you would go to something like SeaWorld or any other of the big attractions did it. So this is clearly on the low budget. But point being is that this is run by this family who's clearly, weird enough, like you mentioned, is run by what clearly is some kind of bizarre, weird Hulk Hogan lookalike.
Yeah, I don't really know who Hulk Hogan is and how he relates to this sort of thing. He's just always in a scene.
Yeah.
Okay,
so here we go. Apparently, he's the owner of the place. He's also the dad of the
disabled kid, right?
Yes, and the bigger brother with the weird cut as having a weird Romeo and Juliet situation with the daughter of the mogul.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, okay. I got you. Hang on.
Yeah,
they don't look.
They are related. They are in the family.
Split second, I lost everything. I lost my wife, my will to live, most of all, Susie's smile. She'll never be able to walk again. Fortunately, she's a strong kid, and here at the aquarium, she's found some reason to live. The only time she feels like a normal kid is when she's out there in the water.
Cookie and Daisy, only listen to her. And Poppy, he's got a crush on her.
So how are things here, Dad?
Well, the overheads are high. Shows a few. But the season's good and Bob wins the regatta. We should come out on top.
I should have a fighting chance this year. I've been training all winter.
Hi, Dag.
Hi, Francis. What can I do for you?
I'm sorry, this isn't a social call. I have an order to evict from Samuel Lewis. You've got to be out of here in 30 days. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, well, you've always been a good friend, Sheriff. And besides, 30 days is a long time. A lot of things can happen.
Sure, all we have to do is give him an advance rent for the next 15 years.
That fat money-grubbing bastard. I'd like to rip his balls off.
Well, that ain't... Don't listen to him. He's young. He's hot-headed. That's all.
Hey, Billy.
How you doing, Sheriff?
Good. How's your research going? Pretty good.
This is supposed to be a very serious scene, but there's barely any passion going on. And then the copper at one point then talks to Cooper ripoff, and then he's like, "Hey, how's everything going?" I'm like, dude, you've just given a guy some papers. That is literally like he's gonna lose his whole business in a month. How are you treating this so casually now? Everyone's treating it so casually.
They also have like then he says a line from Jaws, where he's like the line Hooper says about going on the Aurora, which is like a floating asylum. It's and then he starts talking about like how it's like the guy says a similar line again but worse. It's like, oh, I'm going on the Cutty Shark.
Yes.
I was like, oh, that's almost witty.
It's close enough, but isn't.
I have a hunch the actor just didn't get the line. I was like, I don't know what that is. He must want me to say shark. The translator missed it. And so he called it the Cutty Shark instead of the Cutty Sark.
But here's the thing I'm thinking of as well. Like, I feel like a lot, because they're trying to save money on this, because like you can clearly tell that he didn't do a lot of takes of this. Like everything was like maybe just 2, maybe 3 takes tops. And so whenever if the best take had the worst reading, they kept it. And it's obvious. Like you mentioned here, then afterwards, that obviously they find the body on the beach. And I love the half of them say, well, we're bringing you in because we think it has something to do with the propellers and stuff. And they go in and they say like, no, no, this isn't the propeller. This was a shark, mate. And it's like really casual.
This was no boating accident. It wasn't any propeller. Sorry, I could just throw all the better Jaws lines at this. But there is a good actor in this. So do you know our fucking budget Michael Bay looking motherfucker, right? The prick son of the mayor, right?
Yes.
His mate, who looks like a chiseled version of Badger from Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Like, that fucking guy is great. I think he knows he's in a piece of shit, so he's just having a fucking blast. So he's improvising all these now sexist fucking lines.
Yeah.
But he's trying. He's like, I'm going to bring this shit to life. And he's having a really good time with this movie. He's actually the most fun original element in it. And nothing he says is ripped off as far as I'm able to remember.
I think you're right with that, because you are, again, this is the thing, a lot of the stuff you suddenly just cuts. We're suddenly over to this weird Michael Bay lookalike who is chiseled as all hell next to the other guy who's also chiseled. Everyone here kind of looks ripped.
They're all teenagers, but they're older than fucking I am now. And I'm 40.
It's like, oh, we're supposed to be young, hip teenagers, but they're clearly in their 30s. And it's really bad, because then we're also then introduced to the hot babes that are involved. There's always some hot babes. There's always a hot babes.
Look who's here. Yeah. What a pity she hangs out with that nerd fish doctor, Billy. I don't know, maybe nothing will happen, but I'm sure we'll score, man. Vanessa is hot to try. Now, hold it.
What do you want?
I'm the person in charge of pussy. I have to, check your credentials.
Dick brain, dick brain, dick brain.
The pussy inspector. Oh.
And then
the girls like, line go wrong. What are you? I think it works though. He ends up with one of those women later on in the
film. He does somehow. I don't know how. So it goes to several bits when we finally introduce properly to the mogul and the relationship between the rest of the family and how that works out. I kind of like him because he's playing it hammy and he's playing the bad villain type, and I like him in this movie.
A joy to watch.
He's a joy because I don't think he knows he's in a bad movie, but he's definitely directed to basically chew the scenery, and he's great in it. Because there's loads of moments where there's some great little bits where it's just like one of my favorite scenes of this is when when the mayor and everyone else is sort of bringing in like extra people who's going to buy the land for this to turn into this hotel, and he's just
very clever, these dolphins. What do you want? I came to show the property to these friends of mine, and I have the plans for the hotel that's going to be built right here. The sunset's right in front of us. I mean, it is gorgeous. Right there. It's a beautiful sight to see. Look. You leave right away, I'll give you a nice hunk of cash. It'll keep you going for a couple of years, all right?
You're some kind of a son of a bitch, Sam.
What did you say?
I said you're a son of a bitch.
And it's having this horrible argument over each other about literally just calling each other a son of a bitch for literally 2 minutes. It's great.
Son of a bitch. No, you son of a bitch. No, you son of a bitch. But listen to this. You son of a bitch. It's like, yeah, a son of a bitch back and forth. It's brilliant. But this entire section is all like day for night, right?
Yeah.
I say day for night is a bit of a blue filter over what are clearly daytime
this is the thing,
for about
again,
10 minutes.
The thing is, I understand why day for night's a thing, because sometimes it's just generally hard to shoot at night, but at least try and put some more effort to make it look like nighttime. This is just a blue tint over the whole
shadows. Harsh shadows from the moon. It's interesting.
It's bad.
I mean, see that in Jaws. To be fair, like Bill Butler knew what he was doing. You don't get harsh shadows in the day for night in Jaws.
Yeah. So there's loads. So throughout the movie, basically, in order to actually remind us there's a shark in it, there are just random scenes of people being eaten, basically. And they're all the very stereotypical thing. Like literally the first bit here, one of the first ones is like a couple running in and going like, hey, let's go for a nighttime swim. And the other guy's going, I love him because they're making out. They're about to have sex. And she's just, oh, let's go for a swim. And he's almost basically like, fuck you. No, I was ready. You go and swim, you bitch, basically. Yeah.
The bad, I look at it like, buddy, you should have gone. I mean, it would have been fine.
It would have been better. Yeah, and I love the fact because she runs in for a swim. Before they literally calls him a pussy. Runs in and and I love it because he puts his foot on the water. Oh no, it's cold. And then she literally gets devoured by a shark because he was too much of a pussy to actually go properly swimming in there, genuinely. And then there's loads of other shots like that where there's always a couple or something or a boat just getting eaten. And it's just to remind us that the shark exists, because the plot of this movie doesn't revolve around the shark. It revolves around the mayor and his family trying to take over this goddamn weird aquarium thing that has nothing to do with the shark. Absolutely nothing.
Isn't it more beneficial to the mayor's hotel if there's a fucking SeaWorld there for tourists to visit?
I know! Weight Watchers.
Giving them a special filling. Strychnine nitrate with rat poison. The Vikings in for a nasty surprise in the morning, boys. Where are you, little dolphins? Come here. Fix your wagons. Damn fish are gonna wake everybody up. Quick, just throw in that stuff and let's get out of here. Come on, dolphins. Here, boy. Come and get it. Let's get out of here. Yeah.
Poison a fucking dolphin. Poison. I don't know why.
That bit fucking, I actually shout at that. If you actually pull this off, this is disgusting. It's actually disgusting. What happened is that it wasn't the mayor's idea, it was the son's idea. Because I remember the mayor and the son are having a conversation and the mayor's just getting pissed off that he is just not accepting his offer. So the son says like, no, here's another thing to mention as well. Like, here's something else we need to mention. The idea is that guy's son is flirting around with your daughter, my sister. They're doing kissy things. And so it's like, well, I'm even more mad. And then the son says, I have a good idea. So the Michael Bay guy suggested poisoning the dolphins. But because of the sea lion who... Props to the sea lion.
The true hero of this fucking movie.
because he literally acts like an attack dog, which I'm not gonna lie is kind of great. In the meantime, while all that happens, obviously we have our copper who is literally trying to convince the mayor and everyone else, hey, we need to close the beach. There is a shark about.
Yeah, because there's a bit in Jaws where Richard Dreyfuss, where Hooper is, where Roy Scheider even is looking through the shark book and he's seen all these gruesome real life images of sharks underwater and the music's amazing. He's intercut with the guys, I think it's intercut with the guys who are rowing to set there to catch the shark on the pier, right?
Yes.
And then his wife touches him. He jumps. He's like, "Oh Jesus!" She's like, "Oh, you scared me." It's a lovely character moment. It's like, "Oh God, you shouldn't read this stuff. Let's get drunk and fool around."
Yeah,
it's a lovely moment. But this guy's just sitting in a room looking at random ass photos of sharks on a sliding projector, and then he has the same jump moment. And then he goes through this like, I've been doing some research. All these things to do is swim and eat and make baby sharks. Yes. He doesn't even say little sharks. He says baby sharks. It's like, oh, he even said that line wrong.
And the thing is, the thing is, they literally went over and said, and he literally says, like, there's only two ways to kill it. It's the only two ways to stop it. Kill it or starve it. And it's just, but the way it's said, it's like you haven't really done research. Like, there's no books or anything.
He's looking at, I think every photo of the sharks he's got, they're the most, like, they're fucking sand tiger sharks. They're like, they don't eat people. They don't attack people. One bit a person once. That's
the thing. Because he later on talks to the mayor and everyone else and saying, we need to stop. It's like, do you know who else can do it? A tiger shark. No, this is that's the only name of a shark.
They say it's a tiger shark. Yeah. All their footage is of great whites. It's definitely a tiger shark. It's like, oh, is Hooper meant to be wrong in this movie, or is it just that the filmmakers don't know the difference? Any shark will do.
I think the reason why they went for, I wouldn't be surprised if they went for tiger shark because everyone tigers are scary. Yeah, tigers are scary. that means a tiger and a shark must be scary.
Sorry, Johann, what kind of shark?
Tiger shark.
What? Sorry, I just saw an opportunity and I had to seize it. One of the best. Like, I've bonded with people like that over just thrown into a conversation. And they've gone a tiger shark.
Thank you. You cheered me up.
Oh, mate, you set that up for me beautifully. Thank you. I've
That's
waited for this moment my whole life.
Perfect. We needed this movie to do it.
As you know, this regatta marks the beginning of the summer season at Hampton Bay and is sponsored by the Lewis Hotel chain, owned by Mr. Samuel Lewis.
The divers have checked the nets. The buoys are in place. The men are too. God, I just don't feel right about this, though.
I'm afraid, Francis. That motherfucker is acting so strange. It's almost as if someone has trained him to attack and kill.
Let's keep our fingers crossed.
Oh my God! What's wrong? Get him out of the water, quick! Get out of the water! Everybody, get out of the water!
There's a shark! Look, there's a shark!
Attention! Attention! The race has been suspended! Leave your boards and get in the boat!
Do something, Tommy! Help them! Save them!
Think I'm crazy? Take all these ropes and climb aboard! Quick! Climb aboard!
But we need to actually talk about the regatta and what happens there.
Oh my God, it's amazing. Do you know what? Did you ever see like when Batman and the Joker in the 60s Batman have like a surfing contest?
Yes.
And you're like, oh, well, this is the joke that it doesn't look like they're surfing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In this film, you got them windsurfing, but it's not the joke. But they're clearly just standing on a fucking standing still on a solid surface with no movement or wind.
There are loads of moments like this. Like there's that's in the regatta, and also the same in the helicopter as well, where you can see like the helicopter spinning, but he's clearly not off the ground. And there's loads of moments like that. And the regatta is hilarious because clearly they've got footage from other things that are not from that thing. But there are also some very weird moments. Like there's a guy. The shark goes through the cages because they actually go and say, "Hey, the mayor is really wanting to keep the regatta going because it's the only thing that's going to give him business."
So he does like the steel mesh shark nets, right? But the shark eats through it because it's a fucking clever shark. Well, what is this? 1994? It's a Velociraptor. They've done the whole it's smart enough to open doors shit.
Clever
a smart monster that wants to eat you is terrifying. Yeah.
So apparently that all that cost $30,000 according to the mayor and everything else. Ooh, expensive. But obviously he just cuts through it, and then he just starts eating everyone.
He gets tangled, right? He gets tangled in a little buoy because that's how they do their jaws rip off. But that's all that footage is from Last Shark.
It's so bizarre that they've just got the last shark and just peppered shit in. Everything in the regatta is actually kind of genius the way it's cut, but you can obviously tell it's all from different movies. So anything original was hilarious. Like there's a bit where you got one guy who's windsurfing doing the thing, and then suddenly he hears like a what? He looks at the back, and half of it's already eaten. And it's just like, you would have noticed. Really, you would have noticed.
Like his surfboard is made out of butter.
It's great.
Hey, wait a minute. It's like I'm no surf fucking-ologist, right? But I'm going to assume that there's those little fin bits at the back. That's the bit that's underwater.
Yeah.
And I just have a hunch that does something. And if those bits are gone, you can't steer your you're bored. I don't know. I'm not, like I said, I don't know what I'm talking about.
But here's the thing as well. Like, you would think, like, a lot of people would have eventually gotten, like, eaten.
Fall off.
Or whatever.
I mean.
Or fall off. Yeah, he would have fallen off if someone tried to grab him from behind, but nothing. But then there's loads of other scenes which clearly are from another movie. I think it's from The Last Shark or from Great White or from that, whatever. There's I can't remember which scene this is from, but which movie it's from, but it's a whole thing in the platoon, like on the pontoon, the wooden pier scene.
Oh, yeah, that's when you see them falling in, that's from Jaws 3, so the underwater shot of them just going, but yeah, it's from Last Shark. Every time you see a shark head that looks like shit, that's The Last Shark.
But that's the thing is, to be honest, it doesn't look too bad. But the problem is, it's not. Yeah, but it's not their movie. It's not their shark. It's someone else's shark who did a decentish job. But it's not like
they took the tech from Jaws, and but didn't put the effort that Bob Mattei did. I know everyone likes to shit in the shark from Jaws. It's fine in Jaws 1. I mean, I don't see the beef with it in Jaws 1. Maybe I've just grown up with it and I've got like, you know. I don't know, I'm looking at it and I'm like, it's fine. What is it meant to look like? It's not like a shark like growls or has like furrows its eyebrows before it eats anyone.
That's it for Jaws 4.
Yeah. This rows of teeth and this awkward like lack of movement in the tail. But yeah, I don't know. I just look at that thing and it just looks like a plastic thing that comes up and goes down. I was like, hey, they struggle to do that in Jaws. If you had better texture, you'd be in business. That would be fine. But
and that's the thing is, like, it's bad. But for me, I can say it's definitely more effort than what these guys have done.
Well, the fucking cop, right? The Chief Brody guy. They kill him in this, and I only noticed last week.
Wow.
So even though I'd seen it 3 times or 3 or 4 times, I know it's only in the last one that I go, oh, is that the fucking cop? And Brad went, yeah. And I went, shit.
How did you not notice?
I was basically like, stuff was happening, none of it linked together. My brain stopped trying to find fucking dots to connect. So I missed a really big moment in the film. But hey, just bear in mind that where is that? That's like about an hour and 10 minutes in. I was pretty pissed every single time I've seen this film by that stage.
You are absolutely fair. Because after the regatta goes terribly wrong, and basically the copper goes and says, like, I told you so. Like, I told you so. Oh, I love about it, because then basically everyone decides to have sort of a meeting, and even the mayor having this mobster thing at the moment, they're saying like, you need to show out the shark now, because otherwise we're going to have problems. And then everyone sort of has a meeting, and they're having like, they're actually like in City Hall trying to like do tactics on how to attack the shark.
But they forgot to add a Quint character. So when you've got the guy going, we got to kill the shark, they're like, okay, fine. Like, there's no point where it's like, well, we can't. It's not like anyone else tried. Like in Jaws, where you had a bunch of idiots trying and they failed. It's like, we got to pay a professional. None of that comes. There is no professional. There's no Quint for them to go to, which is the biggest fuck up in this film. If you're going to rip off Jaws, why would you not have Quint? He's like the most intriguing character.
And this is the thing. I feel like their version of this is basically having the mobsters come in and say, we will do it for you. But obviously we don't know who these are from Tick, Dom, and Harry. So you're sitting there going like, how do we know you're good at shark killing?
It's like sending Ralphie from The Sopranos to kill a shark because he saw Gladiator. Like, none of those things relate. But I know. I never made that such a fucking. I'm honestly going to say, even though you're absolutely right, that just feels like a leap.
It is a leap. But this is what this movie is. It is a leap.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. Is this the beach where we can see the shark from?
What shark?
The one that killed all those folks. They said it on TV. They said there's a shark killing people right here.
There was a shark, but now it's gone, and we hope that it doesn't come back.
You mean to say we came all this way and now it's gone? They didn't say that on TV.
There's nothing I can do about that. Will you please just move on?
Baloney.
But I thought we were going to go see the shark.
Ronnie, shut up.
one of my favorite bits in this movie is just that is when they're all like in the town hall and they're about to discuss how to attack it. So you got Hulk Hogan having a
shit drawing of the shark.
And it's so good because like this is what you do. And I love how he's just basically telling them this is what happened. No, especially talking to the family and friends of like the mayor and saying, no, you have no right to try and butt in here because you're all idiots.
Shark isn't going to be easy. He's a treacherous mother. It's not like fishing for sardines. We're dealing with a man-eater here. If he gets his teeth into you and clamps down with his jaws, you've had it.
Oh, come on. All you gotta do is put a bullet in its head and it's fucked, right?
The tiger shark we're looking for is a homicidal maniac. When it attacks here, in the middle of your belly and your guts are out, the trouble is, you're still alive when he starts eating you. Now that you know, you should have more respect.
This tiger shark we're after is a homicidal maniac.
I don't think animals commit crimes. I just like a homicidal maniac. It's like, well, it's not going to get arrested for attempted homicide. It's a fucking shark. No one's gone, look, a shark tried eating someone on the Florida coast, and this is fucked up. So we got to arrest it, take it to trial. We got to put it through, get it a lawyer.
I love the fact it's basically making it insinuating that it's not trying to eat people. It's just trying to kill people and leave. It's a little bit like in Jaws 4, basically, whereas basically he's going, it's almost like this vengeance trip. It's like, I'm not here to eat them. I'm here to I'm just about to kill their family.
It's like, this shark has a stiffy for homicide. It loves to know that it's causing grief to the family of those it consumes.
Yeah.
It's an asshole shark. It's a new species we discovered.
Right.
It's
so bad.
Monster. But the thing about this is that I cringe every time I see a tiger shark in a shark movie, in a Bond movie, or in any movie, because they were very cruel with how they did that. What they would do is they tie them up overnight and leave them, and then of course because they're not moving and water isn't passing over their gills, they'd essentially suffocate, and then they just untie them and push them in the direction of the actors who would then like hit them or stab them and all that sort of stuff. And they weren't necessarily dead. They were just very docile because they hadn't breathed for about 8 hours. Really, really horrible sort of practice. So every time I see a tiger shark in anything, I'm just like, because they're always real. They're never like, I've not seen a fake tiger shark in anything. I've watched Bond films, anything. Just basically cruel, like suffocating animals and then shoving them in the direction of a stuntman. It's pretty fucked up. All the Bond films did it, all of them, every single one of them. Yeah, it's awful. This film doesn't have that. This film actually has just like, Ron Taylor footage of great whites and then shots from other shit films. So again, this film's pretty woke.
Because they did it from other movies and the other movies probably not did they either. My goodness. Everyone has an attempt to kill the shark. So we have basically about 4 attempts, basically. One, you've got the rich family. We've got the mayor's family. We've got the mayor's family making an attempt. We have the copper in the helicopter making an attempt. We then get the mobsters making an attempt.
There's some
and then
army
we got
guys in the helicopter as well, right? The army guys are shooting at the 8mm shot that we see again later on when the other guy does it. Yeah,
so basically everyone's making an attempt. Now, the funniest one out of all of them, because the one with the mobsters is just... It's
fucking brilliant.
The mobsters is great. He's so shocked that the shark could actually... Like, sharks are doing shark things, and he's surprised.
He's in a moving boat, but no one's driving it. He's just like, and then he runs in. It's fucking brilliant.
So yeah, the mobster one's brilliant. My favorite one though has to be the mayor's family, because the mayor's family one is so somewhat weirdly inept, because basically the when that all happens, they're going in, they're trying to shoot it, they're trying to swim around trying to find it, and then basically Michael Bay guy gets eaten at this point, doesn't he? Gets eaten here?
Yeah, he falls in, he does a scream and then does a flip so his feet come out the water, that thing we all do in swimming pools.
Yeah.
He does that, and then the woman screams, pours petrol all over the place, like in Jaws 2.
Yes.
And then someone decides, I'll shoot a flare. What could go wrong?
Where did that flare gun come from?
It came from Jaws 2, and then the shot of the exploding boat also came from Jaws 2. It's like the idea and the shots.
Instead of actually purposely trying to, because obviously in Jaws 2, it's a bit different. They're purposely trying to sort shit out.
Oh, it's a horrific scene in Jaws 2. She's actually, I think she's trying to throw the tank, but she's trying to do a Brody. It's not well executed, in all fairness. But she's trying to throw the tank at the shark, and but she just ends up spilling gasoline everywhere. Shoots the shark with a flare gun, and then fucking
and then everything explodes.
But then the shark's got a cool scar on its face, so that it stands out just a little bit. You know, we know who he is. It's not two sharks like anyone ever thought that. It's old Scarface himself.
It's Scarface Shark. We know who it is. Here, no, it just happens to be and also it happens very quickly, which is hilarious because it kind of goes. So basically, Michael Bay brother gets killed off. Girlfriend smothers quickly. Suddenly, flare gun. Thing explodes. Suddenly cuts to the next scene. There is no time to register that suddenly a whole boat's exploded.
The film ends with that fucking seal knocking the mayor into the water again, and he seems all jolly. Like there's no evidence that this guy has lost his son,
family,
his number one son. There's no evidence. Like it's funny he got wet. It's like it doesn't matter. It doesn't.
So bad. Then finally, last little bit I want to mention is how they actually finally killed the shark, which, so you've got the, so basically by this point, this one is the, basically the heroes are on the boat, and there's some like close calls when the boat like, oh, it's not working, I need to dive in quickly and fix the propeller and the engine. There's some good close moments, but clearly we know it's not from all the sharks are not from this movie, so I never feel like there's a threat because I know that, weirdly, because I'm so detached, because I know the shark's not from this movie, I feel less threatened.
Yeah, it's like there's a guy who we didn't remember or notice who isn't back, so I'll go get him. There's that whole thing, right? And it's like, oh, okay, good on you. And it's almost tense.
Almost.
It's almost tense. And then I remember I don't fucking care, and I'm here to see people get eaten, so let's see what we get. So
and their idea is let's put some mines to blow shit up, and then. And it's really funny because the mines they don't look like mines; they look ridiculous. And and then finally, after a few close calls, boom, the shark explodes into loads of tiny pieces. You don't even see the explosions from the water because it didn't really happen. And then you sort of see the whole family like, yay! And finally the whole heroes so yay!
They have a hunch it worked. There's no evidence. No one saw it.
Because we don't see it because the shark's underwater and just explodes. It's so anticlimactic for a movie where you already know they're in the franchise. There are some wonderful, amazing finales to Jaws. There are some great explosions and ways they kill Jaws off, and yet they don't take advantage at that point. And that's so confusing.
They found one that was worse than Jaws the Revenge.
I know.
Regardless of what version of that you watch, because there's two Jaws Revenges, right? There's one where she drives the boat into it and it explodes, and there's one where she drives the boat into it and it's so heavy it rips the front off the boat and sinks.
Yeah.
And it's like either or. I mean, yeah, it's so bad. But yeah, this didn't even rip off those. It just completely fucked the whole thing.
And it basically what it does is, to me personally, I think it ends on a whimper because I mean, look, there are other moments where they rip off, and with something we didn't mention before we kind of wrap up to the end is that you mentioned when you sent me this, you mentioned they ripped off Star Wars.
The music, yes, there's a bit of music, yeah, and it does the that bit at the beginning of Star Wars before the theme kicks in, and I was just like, wow, this is their big out to sea moment, because obviously in Jaws when they go out to sea is fucking stunning. It's like, when I tell the kids, tell them I'm going fishing, they're that amazing like John Williams cue that's really dark, the shot through the jaws, the shark teeth, and you see the boat going out. Beautiful, and the music is fantastic, and they were like, oh, we need to do something that's a little bit more fanfare-y. What else has John Williams done? It's like, Star Wars, and it made me laugh so much. I think I sent you that clip, and in it I'm just howling, and you probably can't even hear the music. I'm just like
And see, this is what's so weird, right? There are some moments which feel like a legit score, but like it's cleared from somewhere else. The rest of the movie has really bad music. Like it is weird, very like mid-90s music kind of shit. Yeah. It's terrible. So when you hear something suddenly like John Williams on this, you instantly notice.
I don't think it is John. I mean, it sounds like it is. It sounds like a full orchestra, but then the music goes into something else. It's like, well, I think the same orchestra ripped off that bit of music and then did the next bit before and the bit before. And it's actually, as a piece of score goes, I mean, it's pretty rich. It's not like a crappy synth. It's a rich feeling orchestra.
And I feel like that's what's so weird about it is like you have two moments with an actual orchestra by sound of things, whether you got it legitimately or not, we don't know. But then you're peppering in with a whole bunch of weird, bad synthesizer music, which I feel like we're missing something here. I don't know what it is, but then this whole movie's like that.
To give it credit, the one thing it doesn't do that every other, like even films like fucking Alligator does this. The music doesn't do any sort of variation on dun 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 dun.
This is true.
They don't do it. And it's like, all credit to you. You found something. You didn't rip off the one thing. They're either so fucking inept that they neglected to rip off the one thing other acknowledged great shark film, great Jaws ripoffs do.
Yeah,
they failed to do that. So they're that inept. I do actually solidly believe that they were so inept they forgot to rip off the Jaws theme in some way, shape, or form.
Personally, I feel that'd be great. I would love I love to imagine the idea that they literally forgot that theme existed while they were making it. And yes, yeah. So we've reached the end now, and so by this point we need to rate this movie. So I'm going to
how do ratings work?
I will tell you how the ratings work. We're going to do something called the Trashometer. So the Trashometer works very differently. We do not do star ratings, nor do we do letters or numbers. What we do is we put it on what's called the Trashometer, where there's 5 rankings, and we figure out where this movie kind of falls into the rankings. So I will explain them to you, and then you tell me where you think this movie falls. So first of all, at the very, very bottom of the scale is tame. Tame means that basically it is boring, it's not really that fun, it's kind of just dull as dishwater, right?
Okay.
Right, so there's not much trash for it. Then you've got the next step, tiny bit trashy. Tiny bit trashy means it's got some fun elements into it, but I kind of feel like it could have been more. There could have been more to this movie. Like there could have been something better to it. Then you've got right in the middle, trash. It's the perfect amalgamation of mesh. It is the sweet spot. It's the big catch of all trashy movies. Then you have too trashy. This is where, while we're still having fun, we're getting moments we're actually getting a little angry at it, we might be getting annoyed at it, but there's still a level of fun, but we are getting angry at it. Then you've got the final top one, which is torture. Torture means this was literally a torture to sit through. This was really hard to sit through. It's made it either angry, upset, offended, that kind of thing.
So basically what we go into is like each of these we give it out of 5 for each of those points, right? What was the one again? One was
basically tame. I mean the movie's boring, basically.
Right. So in terms of fucking kills, it is essentially that. There's not a single thing in this film that makes me go, oh, I remember that one. Nothing, right? I only realized that the main character died fucking an hour into the film when I watched it last week, right? So So in terms of like gore or any cool shit, it's kind of probably a 1. But then in terms of just like, what's the one that covers I'm not fucking bored at all from start to finish? This is fucking quality.
That'd be right in the middle. That'd be trash.
Right, there we go. So we got that sorted. Yeah. So not gory, right there in the middle there. But also, this is a film that I only discovered in January, and I've watched it like 3 or 4 times since.
Yeah.
This is like one of my top shitty movies. If I had to put a bad film on for people, this is the one now I would go, yes, we should all watch this.
Well, no, this is what I think it is, right? So on the scale, right, I would say if I was going to put on the very, very top, like the rubbish, the one thing I would generally find I think is torturous out of the whole thing, which is basically I didn't have fun with this, is the editing. I found the editing to be downright I literally had to pause the movie several times because I was getting angry at how it was edited, because it had no time to breathe. I was laughing and I was shouting. So I put it there. However, I would say if I was going to put it on the Trashometer as a whole, I'd say it's weirdly, it balances itself out, where you've got the boring no deaths really, like with barely any gore. That's from the movie itself. Like all the deaths come from other movies.
Yeah.
The editing is so bad and so shocking that it upset me. But when you combine that with the bad acting and the nonsensical dullness of all that's involved, it does make a very nice little mesh. So I'd say this is the sweet spot, don't you think?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, it's perfect. It's did I tell you I watched Troll 2 sober once?
Yeah, and
that was a fucking weird experience, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, yeah. I was amazed at how much fun that film was to watch, and I didn't need a beer. And Damien hadn't seen it before, so my flatmate, he hadn't seen it before, and I was like, mate, watch this. And now, for some reason, I just were like, I think we just couldn't be bothered to go. It's not like now, post-pandemic or something, kind of towards the end of the pandemic, where we're like, drink too much. Maybe we should not drink so much. Like, this was more a case of, drinking means going to the shop, and I just don't want to leave the house. Let's just watch it. So that's what happened. And we watched it, and we had the best fucking time watching it. It was so much fun. And I didn't think that was possible. Now, with this film, I don't think watching it sober is possible. I just don't think I can do it. So I'll never have that experience. But I felt I made the best choice putting it on for my filmmaker friend Brad Watson last week or the week before, and I could see the look in his eyes, the glint. There was the light didn't go out. The glint. He was like, "That's from Josué." It's like we just like that was Simon McCorkindale's hand. like he knew his Jaws well enough.
So you know what? This is what I think it would be. This is the first for the podcast where I'm going to give it 2 ratings in a weird way. So this is going to be very niche, but bear with. If you are a fan of Jaws and you have a little alcohol in you, Cruel Jaws is probably the perfect movie for you.
Best film ever made, yes.
Right. If you're not a Jaws fan and you're not drunk, I honestly think this might be very close to being torturous because you are really struggling to get through if you do not recognize all the features and you're sober enough to notice all the flaws.
Yeah, because it's almost like generally you watch certain shows that are very reference-based, but with wit. Yeah. So, I mean, I look at stuff like Rick and Morty, and you just go, wow, is this as funny to other people as it is to me? And or Solar Opposites or something. And you're like, oh, of course it is, because plenty of people get this, and it's this is awesome. I think that this falls into it. I think if you don't know your Jaws, that's why I was sending you watch Jaws. Watch a copy
I watched
of Jaws
1 and 2 before I watched it. It helps me a little bit more to understand it. Yeah,
because I wanted you to have that experience of recognizing those moments, and because that is part of the joy, which is because none of the kills in this are worth spit. But you do look at it, like if you recognize when they just lifted shots from these multi-million-dollar movies that were made like 20 odd years before this was even thought up, you go, wow. Like, that's amazing. How did they get away with this? The legal thing behind this, I haven't found any answers to. Like, even today we were just talking about theories. I'm like, it's fantastic.
So yeah, I would say I'm going to put this on perfect trash if you're drunk and a Jaws fan.
It's got to be perfect trash.
Torturous if you are none of them.
Georgia. Why? You give me the respect that I'm entitled to!
Right, this is really bad now because I'm going to ruin your podcast by making a proposition. How about we look at some point films that we love that aren't as loved, but we love. So, for example, Orca, Killer Whale, Alligator. Those 2 movies are pretty fucking special to me, and I've grown up watching them and loving them. And they're not the same league as this at all. They're kind of, there's a lot to love in them. Yes. But also they are kind of like, well, Alligator is fucking excellent. But Orca, Killer Whale is kind of like, Oh, if this was a dragon, like if this was like a medieval movie and it was a dragon, you could make up all this nonsense that they heap on killer whales, and it would be like, oh wow, that's amazing. I feel like I'm learning more about a mythical creature. They care and they feel love and they're passionate, and it would be scary to know that that's what's driving it, because you can't reason with it because you don't speak the same language. Instead of orca killer whale, where they literally say that human language to a killer whale is redundant or retarded.
So bad.
It's like, wow. And only Charlotte Rampling could deliver a line like that with all the pathos that she does. And it's the film where I learned the word retarded. And I was like, oh, I don't think you should say that.
Even then, you say, like, that's not what you're supposed to say.
Yeah, I don't think you should say that. It's like a terrible word. It's just not the right word for the majority of the time it's used.
Oh my God.
But Orca Killer Whale I think that's a fucking, like, I watched it the other day and I couldn't believe how the score in that film is luscious. And it's Ennio Morricone, and it's insanely good. And I was like, why is the score like this in a film like this?
Tell me about it. I love that. This thing is like, and this, I'll definitely have you back on at some point. You've been fun to record.
I'm worried I've been a mess, so I'm sorry to everyone who's like, what the fuck? This is usually more focused.
So we're going to wrap things up. So before we sort of wrap up, we usually do a place where we do our plugins, where we just sort of say where we all are. So Mark, where can people find you? And do you have any projects in the works that you're willing to share?
We're working on something at the moment, but I don't know that there's anything to talk about with that one yet. Okay. Yes, my film Doom Drifter. So that's Doom Drifter. I'm really, really pleased with it. And I also made a film called Night Shooters, which I think is available.
So you're on Instagram and Facebook, and are you on Twitter as well? Or?
Actually, Facebook's probably the worst one to get me on, but Instagram and Twitter, those are the two. And my Twitter handle and my Instagram handle are exactly the same. Marc with a C _V _Price.
Perfect. So there you go.
Yeah.
So that means we can find. So that means there might be a couple of new listeners, hopefully, who might say, "Oh, I want to hear this," and suddenly get some new random DM to say like, "Hey, I want to watch Doom Drifter, please."
Yeah, honestly, just message me.
So yeah, again, you've been an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Dude, I really feel I just fucking waffled and ruined your platform, but
oh no, believe me, it has been entertaining. It's been a lot of fun. I've really just loved your energy. Usually I'm the energetic one, but you sir, are a bubble, and I'm so happy. I could have literally just sat back and just watched you ramble for an hour and a half. You're that kind of personality to me, so it's been fun, honestly.
Thank you.
So basically, that's it for us. So everyone, thank you very much for listening. The next episode, I'm hoping the next episode will finally get Ed back on, because hopefully the internet would have discovered he will be out of being a caveman and no longer living in a cave. He'll finally be able to join us. So until then, keep an eye on your trash. There might be some treasure in there. See you guys next time.
Another step.